everybody, Brittany Harlow, Director of Verified News Network, VNN, here for VNN Live. Thank you for tuning in. We missed you last week. It was my anniversary, so I was strongly encouraged to take the night off of working and go have some fun, which was nice. For those of you who are not familiar with Verified News Network, first, I want to let you know that we are a very much family and community-oriented independent news network based here in Oklahoma. As I mentioned, am the lead journalist and director. The CEO and president is my husband named Kelly. And so he had a lot of managing experience. He has a lot of, data genius, and not to mention that he has financially supported VNN for the last ever, the last almost 4 years that we have been doing this. He's a tough sell, let me tell you, as far as like business ventures, but he cares about the community here in Oklahoma. He cares about very much about his heritage, being a citizen in the Muskogee Nation and helping his Native American community there. We work as a team. You'll see our 3-year-old, Finn, jump into the mix sometimes. That is why YouTube won't let me schedule these VNN lives. Sometime between 8 and 9, depending on when our toddler stops fighting me to go to bed. And so if I'm late, the goal is 8 o'clock every night. But if you have young children, then you know how it goes. They run the show a lot of the time. But thank you for joining us tonight. I can't wait to catch you up on some updates. We have the first step in our VNN lives. I always encourage people to be a part of the conversation here. You can drop something, whether that's positive, negative feedback. I appreciate all of it. Drop it in the comment section or send me an email, bharlow@verifiednews.network. We are still in the process of growing our network. This has been a 100% grassroots movement for the most part. I worked in traditional news for 4 years. I went to college for it, studying it for 6 years. And then I decided to go the independent route just because I wanted something different for the community. And so we launched our first of its kind social news media app. That is our app that it's you don't have to download it. You can just go online and check out our news feeds and everything that we have to offer, but you can, of course, download it. You sign up if you want to unlock all the features, and essentially it is a social media network that is designed exclusively for verified news coming from sources like us, independent journalists. We also have a lot of great top-notch affiliates. We are partnered with officials to help disseminate their information. Citizens can have an account. Experts have an account. We work together to have full transparency for our reporting, and through the community, we check, and help each other verify the open-sourced news and information through our community flagging system. So definitely check it out if you haven't checked it out. And the biggest ask that I have for anyone that wants to support verified news, first and foremost, is to just subscribe to our news and updates. We'll make sure to send you our weekly digest every week, every Sunday that comes out, the top 3 stories of the week, plus our Weather Across America segment. We also do a news roundup at the end of every month for the community news that our affiliates and independent journalists have put together across the country, called This Month in America. And so that is a little bit about us. If you are just meeting us for the first time, I know that we had some new subscribers on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much. I think it was like 10 in the last 3 days, which it's been a journey trying to get more people to be involved with our news offerings and what we're doing here at Verified News Network. And so we appreciate everyone who subscribes to our YouTube channel and subscribes to our email list. So thank you so much. You are the heart of what keeps us going in what's definitely a tricky and somewhat often depressing news industry. But we're hoping to change that. We do stories that our community members ask us to do, and really just like plugged into what our community members are asking and needing and lacking in their traditional or mainstream media. So I'm going to take you over to what our app looks like. If you're interested, I want to say it's up. Verifiednews.network is our website, and there's a line that you can just go ahead and click on. Take me to the news feed, and that will take you to our news feed. Our main news feed here is what we're looking at. It's at app.verifiednews.network if you want to just type that in to your computer. But we've had, and that's that segment at the bottom that I was telling you about, that weather across America. I love weather news, so that I've never heard anyone gotten feedback from anyone that says like, I hate getting this, weather across America. And so I like geek out over that segment, just me personally. So if you like weather, it essentially just is the biggest weather news across the country going into the beginning of the week. So I really dig that. But I'm going to go ahead and interact with our content here. And we have some community source news. This one is from, at the top, Muskogee Media had a story that was in there about an astronaut that came and spoke to their students. We had the city of Tulsa had a story about nonprofit work that was funded through ARPA funds. And then this big old story right here, our Fate series, was published, the first article that we published about that. I'm really excited about what this event is going to do. We at VNN really are interested in solutions journalism. And so, not just your run of the mill, like, crime stories like this happened and this happened and this happened. And it's just kind of like the same thing over and over with different, different people involved. But it's kind of like the same story. And so, especially when it's related to crime or really complex issues, we at VNN really try to get to the heart of like the context of like, okay, well, what are the underlying societal problems that are contributing to this story? Like, everyone keeps talking about this problem, but like, what are the solutions? Like, what is the state doing? What is the community doing? What is like really lacking? And that kind of in-depth journalism is missing a lot because it takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of human power. And so thankfully we were able to get some funding from the Oklahoma Media Center, which is a statewide collaborative here in Oklahoma, thanks to NAJA, Native American Journalists Association. We were able to get some funding to put on our FATE learning series, which stands for From Adversity to Entrepreneurship, to kind of explore what community members have done through entrepreneurship and launching small businesses to help their communities. And really what a great avenue that is to take, because there's a lot of resources out there for people to get out of, adverse situations, like how to, get out of poverty, how to get out of an abusive relationship, how to, get out of a substance use problems and or substance use disorder. was a term that I kind of was reintroduced to today, as opposed to like substance abuse, because of like our words are important, kind of the connotations that that abuse versus disorder uh, really kind of paints a picture of the reality of the situation. But anyway, there is a lot of resources for helping those problems, but once those problems are resolved or helped, when you have a problem like addiction, or you've been living in poverty for like a long time, or you're dealing with an abusive relationship, like that becomes a really big part of your identity. And it seems kind of crazy, but once you lose that part, even if it's a bad part of yourself, there's like this empty space there. And there's not a lot of talk, I don't think, about like what fills that empty space, and like and what people like, like, yeah, I could get sober, but then what would I do? Like, I don't have any, this is my life and this is all that is for me. But in reality, there's a lot of different career opportunities, small business opportunities, entrepreneurship opportunities that are possible. And this is kind of what this series is about. It's like, how do we potentially fill that void in the community and help introduce people to those possibilities? And so we're doing an event in Tulsa and we're doing an event in Okmulgee, and it's taken a lot of time because this is a pretty big deal. And so when we're talking about today and like our updates, that's a big old part of our updates, because that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. And again, if you're just tuning in, if you're meeting me for the first time, I do this journalism, which I love very much. I also spend a lot of time fundraising. I also have a 3-year-old toddler monster, and I'm a foster parent to 2 kids, um, in addition to running everything else that I'm running over here. So it's a pretty busy life, but I'm doing the best that I can. And these issues are really important, and I only meet needs that I feel like aren't being met in other places. And that I actually got into a conversation the other day about with someone about like, oh, you can take this issue, and it was like something that I was reporting on, and like, and so many other people are going to report on it, and you can like keep doing it. And I was like, well, for VNN, a lot of the time, like, we cover stories that mainstream media isn't covering. And so we don't get a lot of glory for kind of the work we do, and that's okay, because that we don't really do it for any kind of glory or any kind of you know financial incentives. We're not exactly rolling it in it over here, but we do it to raise awareness and to get other people to be talking about some of the issues and the stuff that we're reporting on. And so if all of a sudden, like, mainstream statewide media or national media, if people are talking about the stories that we had been reporting on before, then we did our job. We got people talking about these issues that no one else was talking about, and that's pretty much why we exist. So we definitely love helping people through our journalism and serving the community, but a big part of what we do is getting other people to talk about what we're talking about. And so we've been pretty successful in that. But again, we're kind of like silent media partners that other a lot of like bigger media entities don't really talk about too much or ever. And I would say that the exception of that is the April Wilkins case. I'm going to go back into interacting here with our app, and let's see. Oh, it still worked. So here in Tulsa, a big story that we cover a lot is April Wilkins. Did I spell that right? It's kind of hard to see on the screen. We've done a few stories about her. We have another one that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Interviews in the cans, but April Wilkins is a story that a lot of media organizations here in Tulsa don't touch. Actually, none of them touch it, and that's our biggest goal uh, through our like investigative work that we do, is to get this story about April Wilkins more talked about, because she is serving a life sentence for killing her abuser. And it's just a really bad deal that she she's up for parole every 3 years. She's gotten parole hearings in the past, and then this year she didn't even get a parole hearing. And it's just kind of, really complex issues about how the state of Oklahoma treats women. But there hopefully is going to be some more attention on this case coming up pretty soon. Another big story that we've been working on is about Agency Cemetery in Muskogee, and really just about the freedmen history in general here in Oklahoma. Whenever I talk about the Oklahoma freedmen, and people are like, "Oh, who's that?" I'm like, um, the slaves that were freed that used to be owned by Native Americans and like their descendants. And then always I didn't know that Native Americans owned slaves, but yeah, that was a thing. They came over on the Trail of Tears, with other with Native Americans, and that is much of Oklahoma's dark history, something that's kind of been like covered up and not talked about, that I was introduced to, that of course, the injustices and the lack of recognition there is what kind of drives me to stay on that story. So there's been a lot of crazy things that have come out since we started reporting on the story. Let's say it was when was it? I'm not going to be able to see this, but where is this? April? I think that's right. It was back in April that we started reporting on Friedman after we got we tuned into a presentation from a woman named Angela, who's featured in this one of our first stories that we did. Um, and there's obviously that's a big part of history. That is, there's a lawsuit right now between the Freedmen and the Muskogee Nation for them to be accepted. The Freedmen wanting to be accepted as citizens, which was part of a treaty, the treaty back in the day, that um, I believe at this time only one Native American tribe in the state has accepted their freedmen descendants as full citizens, and that's the Cherokee Nation. But yeah, there is a lot of complex history there. And as I said, we started reporting on it about 2 months ago. And then this story comes out of nowhere. That is pretty wild, that all of these death certificates out of Muskogee County were found in a thrift store and bought by this guy in Oklahoma City, and they contain like hundreds of uh, death certificates of people that are buried in Agency Cemetery. And so this, happened just a couple weeks ago, and that story is still developing about how they ended up in a thrift store, what this guy's going to do with the records, what does that mean for Agency Cemetery. It's if you've ever seen our story about that, that is a mess, because that is a neglected historic cemetery that's been neglected for a very long time, not taken care of. So that's one of the stories that we're working on. So those are just some of the news stories that we're working on right now. There's also a lot of behind the scenes cool things that are happening. We were a part of the Indie Growth Program, which is like a 6-week program, I think, 6 weeks to 2 months. And they really helped us with lead generation and surveying our audience and fundraising. And like, there is just so much that we learned from them that I'm taking time at the end of this week to like sit down and kind of digest all of these pages and pages of like business development and product feedback, and really just to help us be a better independent news network. So I'm so excited to share all that learning with you. And as I said, we we have like the learning series that I had mentioned earlier that is about, solutions for the community. But honestly, like we spend a lot of time working on ourselves and like working on the news industry because there's so much issues between the public and the news industry, which to me, I mean, call me naive or whatever, um, but I just really feel like the news, the way that I see it and the way that we live it is just a public service that is designed to help people and make their lives better. And that's what it started out as, but that's really not, what it's gotten to. So, in addition to doing a lot of investigative work to help our communities, we like to do work that helps news in general and helps media and helps people benefit from that. And so, as I said, we are kind of taking all the learning and the feedback from that IGP, that Indie Growth Program, and then we're also taking part in a Trusting News community outreach program right now, where we have been surveying um, citizens of the Muskogee Nation to find out exactly where their trust in news, um, where that was lost, and what can be done for them to for us to be better for them specifically. And that's been a kind of a tricky outreach and learning, but we're just getting so much learning in general that is not even specific to Muskogee citizens. So we're excited to share that. Um, I don't know if you could see fully. Well, I want to get out of the light here. I'll like get rid of my lower third here, but it's this is my startup shirt that I wear kind of frequently that I love. I got it from my time on the Blocks television show that's gonna be coming out pretty soon, I hear. Week, 2 weeks, maybe very soon. I don't know. It's all very mysterious, but it is going to be happening soon. And so that was a reality TV show for entrepreneurs that I took part in last summer. And so it's coming up on a year since that really great experience put on by Beta Blocks. It's an incubator that works out of Kansas City and Tulsa in the past, where, here in Tulsa is where we got in touch with it. I can't wait to talk more about that because it was a crazy story, like my involvement, with Beta Blocks and having to do like with my pregnancy and, starting this business. And it's just been such a wild ride that really culminated with going on that TV show and competing with a bunch of entrepreneurs to kind of prove myself as an entrepreneur. And so, again, really cool experience that you're going to be able to watch and critique. And hopefully, I did a justice to our network, and that I'm really looking forward to, and lots of different feels about seeing that. So that's something that's happening soon. But I'm pretty sure that's all that I can fit into this updates. I talked about a lot about what we're working on, and I would love to have, uh, your opinions, your thoughts on what we're working on and the direction that our network is headed in. Please feel free to check us out if you have not already, verifiednews.network. And as I said, subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe, please, to our email newsletters. You could sign up through a bunch of different places. And I appreciate you guys hanging out. Next on our list here, I want to say that I just shared it. If you're unfamiliar with us streaming on Wednesday nights, I've started posting the schedule for our streams the beginning of every month. So next week, we're going to be talking about the Fate series. I'm going to be meeting up with Big If True. Molly over there at Big If True in Oklahoma City. She's our event and series collaborator. So go check out this Fate series, but it is on the 18th is this event here in Tulsa. And so I'm actually going up to OKC to have a chat with her that Tuesday, that Wednesday. Our live stream will be about it. So I can't wait to tell you more about it and all the community partners that are getting involved. Like, honestly, it's blown up with support and people that are helping out. And so I'm just like so excited to like discover all of these resources that I had no idea about for our community members. It's some really, really cool stuff that if you are in an adverse situation in Tulsa or Okmulgee, there are so many opportunities and resources to not only help you out of that, but give you a career, put you on the path of entrepreneurship, small business development. And so excited to kind of learn more, and I'll even open up next week and at these events about why this is so important to me in particular, and like what that the ties that it has to my own like personal experiences. So I'm excited to share that, that great concept and learning series with you guys. And then, of course, we are going to be covering the week after Metaverse Adventures. That is a live stream of me adventuring out in the metaverse. Not sure where I'm going to go, but I'm going to start figuring it out. And if you guys have places in Horizon Worlds or other metaverses that you want me to visit, let me know. Again, comment. I'm going to throw up the screen in a minute for that is how you reach out to me. I always respond to emails, messages, comments, when you directly are asking me a question as far as the comments go. Um, and okay, I don't answer like all the mean comments because that is like incredibly draining, but really, constructive and really kind of wanting to be involved in what we're doing here, I always answer those ones. And then, of course, the 29th, the last Wednesday in the month, we're going to be talking April Wilkins. There's a couple updates on that, and I haven't told you about yet, and they should be done by then and having some great feedback there. I talked to April earlier today. She's incredibly busy there in prison from, what I have, what she tells me. She's teaching a new health class. She does so many things in that prison to help the other women. And she's just like this model inmate there. And so, she is just a real blessing to the people that are in there. But that is all for me tonight. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and catching up on our VNC, our Verified News community updates. And like I said, please subscribe, follow us, be a part of our journey together. And I will catch you guys here around the same time, sometime between 8 and 9, aiming for 8 Wednesday nights, VNN Live. All right, talk to you guys later.